Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting. I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here. And today I want to talk to you about whether you are still learning about manifesting or whether you're doing the work of manifesting for yourself. And it doesn't matter what your answer is. You can change that answer immediately after you figure it out. It's just important that you're honest with yourself about where you are on your journey to get what you want, right? Because the reason I started this podcast is because I really want everyone to get exactly what they want, myself included. And I've gotten a lot of things that I want, and I want you to get what you want too. So, when we're learning this information, when we're learning about our energy and how we focus and use our mind to put ourselves in the best place to get what we want through what I call manifestation, you can, it's not how we really have been operating up until that point. And very often, if you're drawn in to find information about manifesting, you've had things go very poorly for you. You are not getting what you want. You are maybe getting the opposite of what you want. And so you start listening to all this information. And sometimes when you first come into that space, you're like really desperate to get what you want. You really have a strong desire that feels so overwhelming that you just are searching. You're searching for information. You're searching for what could ease this sense inside of you that you have to figure out how to get this. And I'm thinking about specifically in the part of my journey where I had really already learned about manifesting, but I did not get it. I remember physically reading the words in it like an article style, although it was just the words that he said, Neville Goddard's lecture, The Pruning Shears of Revision. And I had a printed out document and just thinking that I didn't get it. Like I did not understand what it meant because it couldn't possibly have meant what it was saying. And just sort of having that information available to me, having received it into my life, right? I had a printed out paper copy of that lecture. And like I said, didn't get it. And when I wanted to manifest a specific person who's not the specific person that I'm with, but another person that I really wanted to be with, and just really looking for information, and the idea that I might not be with that specific person would send me into a panic, into a spiral, just my own feelings, in my own internal world. And the information that I could manifest this person into my life, back into my life, was so comforting. And I just held on to that information and searched for more information. And I was just continually in a cycle of getting worried that I could not manifest this person and soothing myself with the information that I could. But I wasn't doing a whole lot of focusing work, and I wasn't doing any work on myself, on my other parts of my life, on who I wanted to be as a person. And it wasn't until, and I did end up manifesting that person, by the way, but it was just a struggle, right? So I found all this information, and then one day I realized I was walking my dog. I had this realization: I'm only consuming content. I'm not actually applying this to my life. And I made a commitment that day to really start applying what I was learning to my life. But it can also be really overwhelming because a lot of people say, do this, do this, do this. And they speak against doing other things that you're hearing and learning about, right? And so there's really a lot of confusion, like depending on who you're listening to, depending on what information you're receiving, it's easy to get confused. And especially if you hear something negative about a technique or something that you are doing in your own manifesting work. And so I want to encourage you today, one, if you're in a place where you haven't really started doing the work, like the actual visualizing or focusing or affirmations or scripting or whatever focusing work you want to do, or choosing your identity and living that in that identity, embodying the person that you want to be, whatever focusing work you want to do. If you haven't started that yet and you're still in that consuming content, intellectualizing phase of manifesting, that's okay. But you, like I did that day many years ago, can make that decision today. You can make the decision today that you want to start doing the work. And then you're probably thinking, like I just talked about, like it can be confusing. A lot of people say a lot of different things. And then some coaches, content creators are out there saying like, don't do XYZ thing. That ain't it. And if you're hearing that and that's creating confusion for you, what I want you to do is the person that you need to trust the most on this journey is yourself. And so if my content doesn't resonate with you, don't step away from it and pick the one that really resonates with you. If someone else's content does, then absolutely go there. It doesn't matter, because all of it works. Even the things that some people say that doesn't work, it does. It will if you choose to believe that it will work for you. And so you really are the one that's in control of this. You are the operant power. There are certain things that you have to meet the criteria of, and those things can kind of feel intangible. Like they're hard to put into words. That's how come so many of us are on here talking about it, creating content, having different opinions about what works and what doesn't work. Because the thing is I believe that it all works if you apply it in the way that you believe it's going to work. I truly believe that. And so you just choose. You choose how you want to focus. Now, the trick is you do have to focus on, and this is that intangible part that's like hard to explain and why so many of us are out here just talking about it over and over again. You do have to focus on having what you want and not the lack of what you want. And that's where it's tricky, right? Because when you think about your specific person or $500,000 in your bank account or working at the office that you want to work at or whatever it is, or your TikTok's going viral, that when you think about that subject, if you don't currently have that thing, it can be difficult to tell on what side of the line you're on. Abraham Hicks would say, which end of the stick are you holding, right? Are you holding the not having or the having side? And so that's your work, is to figure out, and then just move yourself slightly. Continue to do it. But don't beat yourself up and don't get wrapped up in a whole lot of anxiety. So the other half of the work that we'll talk about tomorrow is really enjoying your life the rest of the time, doing the focusing work, knowing what you want, and then just really what next thing do I want to do that would be really enjoyable for me, or wouldn't be that enjoyable, but I know it needs to get done. For example, I have a whole lot of laundry I need to put away right now, and I don't really want to do it, and I put it off for as long as I can because I really do believe that I choose to do what I want to do most of the time. And at some point, the putting away of this laundry will be the thing that will make my space feel really good. And so I will choose to do it. But I'm putting that off right now. So like, even though I don't want to do it, I know it needs to get done. And there is something I will gain by doing it, which is a space that will be cleared of all this laundry. So at some point I will get there, but I really do go with my energy. I go with what I want to do. And that's what your job is the rest of the time when you're not doing your focusing work. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back tomorrow with another episode. May you manifest exactly what you want.